Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of Talking Away the Taboo. I'm Dr. Aimee Baron, and we are just a few days away from Pesach, from Passover, and I really know that so many of us are struggling with how to feel this concept of redemption, how to feel freedom when we're just filled with heaviness for so many different reasons. And I couldn't think of a better person to come on to talk to us the piece about grief and holding grief even in the midst of slavery and heaviness, and finding hope and finding the ability to move through this holiday season. And so here we are with Shirel Korobkin, who she needs no introduction, but I'm going to let her introduce herself in a second. But I am so blessed because she is one of our support group leaders. She is based in Israel. She lives in Israel, based in Israel. And she has a really unique perspective on this time of year, on loss, and just really a beautiful message for all of us. So, Shirel, come say hi.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Aimee, for having me here. My name is Shirel Korobkin. By day, I'm a mom to two little children here in this world and two more waiting for me in the next world to come. And by evenings, I work here at IWSTHAB. I'm a grief educator, and I run a fantastic group here for women in Israel who are experiencing infertility and pregnancy loss, as well as my own practice helping people navigating grief and through different types of losses that we have in this beautiful life.
And Shirel comes to this space, unfortunately, very honestly, as many of us do. Um, I think maybe to get us started today and to kind of frame the discussion, you in one of your local publications, in a publication, no, say, okay. I'm actually going to stop talking. Shirel wrote a beautiful piece about redemption and about grief and about hope and about holding pain and hope at the same time. And I just said, oh, we must bring you here. So I guess, Shirel, can you start us off and just share a little bit more about your story and how you come to this work in general and this space?
Absolutely. So it's now this summer going to be 4 years ago. 4 years ago, I was an olah chadashah. I was a new immigrant in Israel from Toronto. I was pregnant with my Aliyah baby. This was my second baby. No complications, and sadly, at 26 weeks, my son was born still. His name is Ilan, and I was thrown into the world of grief, navigating grief, loss. I had no idea who to turn to. I was living in a new city where I currently reside, where I had little access to resources, medical resources, emotional support resources in English, and that's where I found I was supposed to have a baby. Fast forward a few years, I was supposed to have a baby, specifically Aimee and her incredible team. They held my hand not only through loss of coping with my son being born still, but also through trying to get pregnant again. Thank God, then getting pregnant with my rainbow baby, my daughter, who's now 2. And then most recently, this past October, I found out that I was expecting the morning of my brother's wedding. And shortly, we found out at the first appointment, at the first ultrasound, that there was no heartbeat. And I went then on for 2.5 months to miscarry, which, and I think this is a side note. I've been working here at IWSTHAB, as someone who's been working with women who are experiencing infertility, pregnancy loss, you name it. I was unaware of how long miscarriages can really last for. That was a big learning opportunity for me from my own loss. And here I am standing before all of you here who will be watching or listening to this, where I am also now waiting for my miracle, waiting to see what will come from this loss, and still grieving the loss. So I wrote an article just being very real with women. I think it's very easy for people. I know I've been that person to sometimes judge those who are already holding their rainbow babies or who are already, 20 years ahead of where they used to be. But I wanted to share my story from someone who's in it right now and share how, yes, we have loss, but we can also make space for hope.
Yeah, Shirel, I mean, you and I have spoken a lot over the last 4 years, and obviously a lot over the last number of months. And I mean, what you've been through and continue to go through is absolutely devastating. I guess my question to you is, have how how do you personally, like, where are you sitting right at this moment in this space of where you are, you have these experiences which are deep and hard and difficult, and yet this holiday is supposed to be a holiday of freedom, of hope, of being released from bondage. I mean, look, all of these themes are so much more powerful and so much more poignant for all of us now living in a post October 7th world. So we're going to get to that piece in a little bit, but to focus on the fertility aspect and the themes of slavery, the themes of freedom, the themes of, we know that there were babies that were killed in Mitzrayim, in Egypt. Like, can you talk a little bit just about what happened then, what's happening now, and suggestions on how you're getting through it, and maybe people can take some pieces from that and maybe bring it into their own lives.
Absolutely. I Something that we open the story with, and when it comes to the story of the Exodus, the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim, is that the women were very fertile in Egypt, that they were having baby after baby after baby. I think a lot of women can maybe relate to this. Those of us who maybe live here in Israel, where every other woman you pass by is pregnant. Your WhatsApp groups are maybe flooded with another meal train for someone who just had a baby. And yet somehow this fertility that was a blessing for the women was then carried out to be something that was so painful, where many women, their babies were killed in front of them, were not even aware of the pregnancy losses that took place during that time due to circumstances, stress, medical reasons. We don't know. And I think a lot of women relate to this idea, and I know I do, of God, what was the point of making me fertile? God, what was the point of making me pregnant? All of that for my baby to be born still, for my baby to have that miscarriage, to have a failed round of IVF, to have a failed egg transfer, whatever it may be. Um, the point that I like to relate to during this time, and again, this is my own experience, and this is, God forbid, not something that I would push on to others, because everybody's experience is their own, and what's comforting and inspiring to one might be triggering to another person. I, during this time, have to keep telling myself that it's not no, it's not yet. The pain is real. The losses that the Jewish people experienced in Egypt is 100% real, and we know that even validates the painful experiences they had. Here, you
You're
can hear me still? I'm just
you're
making sure.
okay. Yeah, sometimes the sound is a little bit iffy. You're okay though. You're good.
And we have those experiences validated. But in those moments, I tap into, at least for me, God saying, I'm not saying no right now. Something will come from this. I don't believe that my losses happened in a vacuum. I don't believe that my losses happened without a point. I really do think there was a purpose in it, even if it's just that tonight I get to share that my stories with somebody else, and maybe one person listening to this might have validation and hope from it. That's something that really helps me going during specifically this time.
Yeah, look, I mean, we know also that there was there was also the idea of Miriam, who was Moshe's sister. All of a sudden, I just lost it for a second. Miriam was the one who actually helped the women and the families continue to be together. So like there were a number of different edicts that Pharaoh like brought down on the Jews during that time. One of them was, you know, all of the babies, all of the firstborn babies, no, all of the babies, all of the baby boys had to be killed. And so at that point, one of the things I think that happened, like getting some drilling upstairs. I hope the sound is okay. One of the things that happened is that many of the families, many of the husbands and wives were like, well, if he's just going to kill all the babies, then why do we need to be together? Like, let's just divorce our wives. We should just get divorced, and like that's the end. Like, you know, he's in charge. And Miriam basically came to her parents and she's like, look, like Paro is saying that he's going to kill half the babies. Like he's going to kill the boys. He didn't say he's going to kill the girls. And so by you saying that you're going to get divorced and that everyone should get divorced means you're preventing all babies from happening, like not just half the babies. So like stop, why are you putting this extra layer of stress and extra layer of pain on yourself? Like just because this is happening doesn't mean that you still can't have joy, you still can't have a family, that you still can't like carve some semblance of happiness out of whatever is here, this miserableness.
Absolutely. I think we experienced that also. My first loss that I had, I really believed that my marriage was never going to be the same. My marriage suffered a lot from my first loss. We had no idea what we were navigating. And like you said, that stress and all the emotions that come up in grief, they get then applied as well to your marriage, to friendships, relationships around you. And definitely my first loss, I did not know how to cope with that and how to recognize that my marriage at this stage, it's just a stage. It's not going to be this forever. My relationships are not going to be this forever. And that was something very healing for me. My second loss, that I was actually able, even amidst all the pain and the losses and coming back from appointments, finding out, you know, that the miscarriage was still ongoing and how that impacted my relationships, my body. I was really able to be present with my kids and make room for joy even amidst the pain. So if that was allowing myself to listen to music that I really enjoyed, or going out for a walk, or sitting down to watch a couple Disney movies with my daughter, I gave myself permission that yes, we're allowed to be sad and in grief, but that doesn't have to be the title of the entire book. We can also make space within this time for things that we enjoy, small things. Start off small and then you can work your way up to larger things.
Yeah, because it doesn't like, yes, there is pain, there is horribleness. This time of year is hard. And yet, like what I hear you saying, and I think what Miriam was saying way back when was you can still carve out pieces for yourself, even in the midst of the pain. Like, don't let the pain take over everything. That find times, find things, like don't let it become your entire mindset. Ideally, again, like I want to be very clear, and I know Shirel was saying this also, that it is so hard when you're in the midst of pain to see outside of it. And so like, you know, sometimes even just thinking about taking a walk outside becomes too much. So maybe it's like you got out of bed and you changed out of your pajamas, right? Maybe that's like your win for the day.
Right?
Maybe it's like sorry, go ahead. What were you going to say?
And it's so important, but I also think I want to validate for those, because I had days where I told myself, okay, today is sad day. This is sad pajama, Ben and Jerry's, you know, we're ordering takeout day. But like you said, it's so important to make space for the joy. I think a lot of people, they feel guilt and shame for making space for that joy and saying, oh gosh, if I'm not being sad all the time or just really like deep in my grief, I'm not then validating the loss that I just experienced, the miscarriage, the stillbirth, the my infertility, my IVF, whatever it may be. And also what I'm hearing you say is that just because you make space for joy doesn't mean that we're at all diminishing the validity of the loss that you're experiencing.
Exactly. 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 I think, there is this like really powerful idea that we can hold both, right? We can do both. We can hold both. Humans have the capacity to be multi-layered and multifaceted. And I think that like the the Passover Seder is the perfect kind of emblematic way of showing that. Like we actually over the course of the Seder, right? Like we do things because it reminds us of being slaves, that we sit and like we dip the blood and we eat matzah and we have salt water. Like we do the things and we read about the time that it was so hard. And yet there are other things that we also do at the Seder that also remind us of being kings, of freedom, of leaning on a pillow, leaning just like the kings would lean, or like eating really yummy food, and also thinking about like singing praises to God, that like thank God he gave us like these amazing things. And I think that there are ways to do both. There are ways to do both. I want to move us a little bit forward here though, and ask you, you know, there are so many other pieces in terms of Passover and the Passover Seder that are these themes of loss, of redemption, of like like our ancestors, how they got through it. Can you share just a little bit more other tips, suggestions like that you spoke about in your article that are rooted in like these different themes, and what practically we can put into place in our own lives?
Absolutely. I'll say one more loftier idea and then one more a little bit practical. Um, Something that helped me going when I was experiencing my first loss was I would come here and I was supposed to have a baby and watch the stories of women who came before me who had experienced loss of their own and somehow went on to have big, beautiful lives and to have more children or to create meaning in a different way in their lives. And I think that's something that we can do on is you can either say this out loud if you feel comfortable at your Seder, or this is an internal work that you can do, but something that I did, and I've been doing, and I will be doing this also this year, is I call upon the women, my ancestors who were there in Egypt, and say, okay, somehow you got through it. Somehow you were able to hold on to hope. We have a commentary. We have this idea that the women, they came out of Egypt dancing with tambourines and musical instruments. And the Jewish commentators asked, where did they get these instruments from? And they said that these were instruments that they actually, tambourines primarily, that they had in their homes. Even before the redemption was possible, here was something tangible that they had because they were able to hold on to hope. I did this with my first rainbow baby. I don't know how to explain it. I knew she was going to be a girl. I had that connection already. And I went out after the doctors had told me that I wasn't going to have more kids unless I had certain surgeries. And I felt it wasn't right for my body. And I bought something physical and saying to God, listen, I don't know when I'm going to have my rainbow baby, but I'm buying this. I got a big rainbow pillow for her from Fox Home here in Israel with no receipt because I wasn't taking it back. And I said, this is something I'm doing for you to prove to you and show you that I'm ready to be redeemed. I'm ready for my rainbow baby. And I've done it also the second time where I also have this connection with this soul that I know that's going to come to me, even though I'm still in the waiting game right now. Where again, I'm holding something tangible, saying to God, you know, here's my tambourine. I'm ready to go dance into redemption and salvation. But here's something physical or tangible that I'm bringing with me, saying, I'm ready for another rainbow baby whenever that's going to be. So that's a little bit more of a loftier idea, something I think a little bit more practical. We have this idea of drinking the 4 cups of wine or the 4 cups of grape juice at the Seder, and there's an idea that you're not supposed to pour your own cup, but you're supposed to have somebody next to you pour the cup. And we do this because royalty, God forbid, no peasant would, kings and queens have to have their cups poured for them. And I think can be symbolic for us of when we're experiencing loss, grief, pain. Allow people to fill your cup for you. Not everybody's going to do it properly or exactly the way that you like it. They might spill a little bit of the wine or the grape juice, but allow them to pour. So if that means someone giving people permission that they can drop off a meal, asking people for help, I had to do this. I'm the person in my community that people come to me when other people have losses. And here I was now, little Miss Loss, who had to actually turn to my friends and community and people on Instagram and say, I'm I'm really hurting right now and I feel really alone. I need help. And people poured into my cup. So that's a little bit more of, I think, a practical idea.
I love that. I love that. I too often we kind of get like really siloed and also just, I mean, let's just also be be like real and honest, right?
Mm.
When we're hurting, it's so hard to reach out and ask people for help. It's so hard. It feels like insurmountable almost. It's why sometimes, not sometimes, it's why we advise people, if you know someone has had a loss, if you know someone is going through something, just don't ask them like, what can I do to help you? Because it's like too big of a question. Like people often can't focus and they just don't even know what to say. Like it's better to say something like, on Wednesday, I'm bringing you pizza, salad, and brownies. I'm just letting you know that it's coming. And I'm also going to pick up your dry cleaning and take that, and then I'll bring it back to you the next day when it's ready. Like giving people something tangible that you will like that you're going to do for them, as opposed to something open-ended, is a little bit easier for people to grab hold of.
For sure. And I think it's also okay. This is something I learned more so my second loss than in my first. My first loss, I had very high expectations for people that I thought that everybody, had this grief 101 brain and knew how to support me and how to love me and to really make me feel supported during that time. And there were people who showed up and they, got 10 out of 10. They were amazing, like you said, with the meals and the phone calls or flowers or whatever it may be. But during my second loss, the more I spoke with people who I know love me deeply and care for me, they didn't know how. And that's a little bit when my grief educator brain turned on, even amidst grief, when I would send even resources here from I was supposed to have a baby of here's how to support somebody and here's what not to say and here's what to say. So absolutely, like Aimee said, I think especially during this time where it's very family oriented, very kid oriented, for anyone who's listening, for watching this, and it's not just specifically to Pesach, reach out, reach out and to support somebody at your level, whether that's a text message, whether that's, I had somebody give me a tumbler. I love it. I had somebody give me socks, chocolates, really just showing that you care. It can go really, really far, a long way, and we don't realize the ramifications of how healing that can be for somebody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the piece that both of us are trying to give to each of you is that this time is hard. It's hard for a million reasons, because like of turning over your kitchen and new all kinds of new, the cleaning and the cooking and the lots of meals with family and trying to like keep everybody entertained while like people are off schedule. This time is hard. We didn't even talk about all the family that often people have to deal with at the same time, and the nosy comments and the insensitive questions and all of that. Like, yes, all of those things are all true. This is a very hard time. And yet, the idea of letting other people pour for you, such a beautiful, powerful concept. And the idea of also just reaching out when you need it, that people may not know that you need your cup poured. They may think that like you look fine on the outside when actually you're still struggling. Let people know.
Let them,
Let people know.
let them know.
Okay, Shirel, anything else that we missed? Anything else that you think is important now to remind people as we're heading into this season of our lives?
I think it's very important for people to remember that no feeling is final. This is one of my favorite lines from my teacher, David Kessler, that although it can feel very gloomy and dark and Please, I don't want anyone to think I'm preaching from my glass ivory tower. Like, I'm there with you in the trenches. I know grief, I know loss, I know the waiting game, I know all of it. To know that although right now it feels very intense and it feels final, it's not final. Beauty and good things and a promising, loving life can grow from this. We have to be the first ones to take the steps for it. Take the time to heal. Don't rush it. The Jews had to be in Egypt. They weren't there just 24 hours. They were there for a long time, and it was very painful. And yet we were able to come out of that a strong, rich, mighty nation that, please God, each of us, we will be able to do the same this upcoming holiday Passover season. So sending a lot of love to everybody, whatever season you're waiting in, whether you're experiencing loss, life, whatever it may be. Know that this isn't final, that we're here. I was supposed to have a baby myself, my colleagues, Aimee, I'm sure I can speak for you as well. We're holding your hand, and we're all going to be walking hand in hand together towards a big, beautiful life.
Amen. Amen. We are here. Know that we are here, and we're here to hold you and to help you. And this is hard. It's exactly what Shirel said. Like, this is hard. This is a hard season, whether it's your personal season that you're in, that's hard, or whether it's your personal season compounded with everything that's happening this holiday season, because Passover, Pesach is hard, or whether you want to layer on top of that the general state of the world, all of the pieces that are going on in Israel. This is a hard time for us as a Jewish people. Whichever piece is speaking to you and feels heavy in your heart right now, we are here to hold you, all of us. Okay. Thank you so much, Shirel. I really appreciate it. We all appreciate it. And if anybody wants to reach out to Shirel, please, she's tagged here. She also meets with people individually if people want that, in addition to running her own group here at I Was Supposed to Have a Baby. So please reach out to her. She is an incredible wealth of support. And as she said already, she's not just someone who speaks about support and speaks about pain as someone who has been through it in the past. She is someone who still very much is living it in her own life right now. And and I know is so incredibly supportive and effective for other people because she really gets it. So please reach out.
Please do. Thank you so much, Dr. Aimee, and everybody here, and wishing everyone a very healing holiday.
Amen. Chag Kasher v'Sameach, everybody.
Bye-bye.